Hello everybody and welcome to the West Ham Way YouTube channel. You already know who I am. I'm joined by Luke today. Luke, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Sweet. Bit knackered, but still chucking along. Yeah, still going for it.
Good man, good man.
Perfect. So today we're going to talk about how West Ham can improve next season. So as you'll all be aware, if you've listened to the West Ham Way podcast, there's a lot of there's a lack of transfer movement, to put it lightly. So we are looking potentially at a very similar squad. But I just want to get Luke's take on some of these key issues and identify areas that we should be improving on.
Yeah, sure, mate. Where do you start with it? Really, there's a lot to break down. To be honest, I think we're definitely a bit short again. Certainly up front, I think we've only got one striker. Like
Yeah, one
Antonio's
recognised
not a
striker.
natural striker, but Haller's the only one natural striker. And if you're talking about building a squad and going to the next level, you can't rely on one striker. You can't rely on a mediocre left back that we're constantly having issues with Cresswell as he gets older. I think we need a new left back. We need strikers. We need to score more goals. You know, last season we weren't scoring that many goals. It was lucky that Antonio hit a good run of form to sort of keep us up in the end. But I think some beat going on outside my house. But yeah, we need to sign players. I am really disappointed, to be honest, that we haven't got enough funds at the moment. I think the club are relying on the fans again to sort of get cash flow right. I think the club does rely on the fans for a lot of things. I wanted to buy a new training kit that I really liked. I was going to buy it off the website, but then as you go to check out, it says donate to the West Ham Academy fuel, and it's just like the fans do too much to help this club out. Like, come on, the club really needs to give them, like, Sullivan needs to give the club a loan, get us out of this mess, and let's actually have a go next season. We're throwing Moyes under the bus like this. Not long till the season starts and we've got nothing. Like, we're running short again. So I do fear for us next season. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, we're going to challenge Europe next season. We're going to get top 10. I'm not optimistic as it stands. I feel like we are throwing Moyes under the bus. I feel like we're a poison chalice, a bit like Newcastle. Same every season, just scrape against relegation, and that's what it's going to look like right now for me. That's what I'm envisaging at the moment.
Yeah, mate, completely agree. Like, I think obviously these transfer rumours coming out, I think most fans were thinking, given their championship players, we'd have a chance of negotiating. There's certain players like Anthony Robinson and Matty Cash who their clubs have either been relegated or haven't been promoted. So in terms of a negotiation, we should be in quite a strong place. But I'm as shocked as you to find that we seem to have no money at all. And one of the things that constantly gets peddled is West Ham got no money, we've got no money. But you've seen Villa are looking at Ollie Watkins for 25. You know, clubs are still moving in this market. And so it does make you think that they're using this whole COVID-19 situation to kind of say, well, look, we couldn't get anyone, we didn't have the money. But there's something about it that I'm really cynical for, basically. And I think one of the things that could happen is they will bottle it a little bit with Declan Rice. They could sell him near the end of the window. And then if we don't have that time to get those players in, I truly think we're going to struggle next season.
Yeah, I mean, Rice is another conversation. I mean, I'm a massive Declan Rice fan, like we all are. At this moment in time, towards the end of the season, I would say obviously, no way do you sell him for any price. I wouldn't even sell him for any price because he does give you that grit. He does know what West Ham means. He does have everything that will lift other players like Mark Noble has. And you can't really put a price on that sort of attitude. If you're going to sell Declan Rice for 70 million and then buy 3 foreign players for that money, they don't know what the club means. You can't rely on them to put everything into a game. So I mean, I wouldn't sell him. To be honest with you, I've been disappointed with the amount of like Chelsea attitude that's going on with him at the
Don't.
moment. It's just like seeing him with Drogba, seeing him with Terry. It's just like, what are you doing, mate? Like, come on. At the end of the day, the way I see it, Chelsea is a rival. Like, like you wouldn't see like someone like Mark Noble getting a picture with like two Spurs legends in the space of a week. It's just like, come on. Like, I don't agree with that, to be honest. I feel like, yeah, they're legends of the game, but it's just like, come on, there's speculation around. I honestly feel like it's a bit disrespectful. And as I said, I'm a massive Declan Rice fan. I've got friends who are friends of him and things like that. But it's just like we've got to keep on to him, and we've got to make sure he wants to be here as well. I don't think we can sell him at any price, but regardless, we should have funds there ready if he stays or if he goes. And that's fact. We may move to the stadium for the next level. We can't be scrimping and scraping anymore. I'm not massively convinced on Matty Cash, but certainly all the Championship players that we have been signing, they have improved us. They have been good for us. So I just feel like we need another 5 players to add to the squad that are better players than what we've already got, so we can build on that. I don't know who's identifying players at this moment in time, but I feel like Aston Villa are definitely going to spend money and go again. And that's a club that could overtake us next season. We don't want to be running short, chasing teams like Villa because we haven't got enough players. So we do definitely need to sign some. I really don't want us to sell Rice, and I really don't want us to sell Rice at this time.
Yeah, so you touched on it with Declan and the sort of pictures with, Terry and Drogba and stuff. There was that element in the back of my head as well where you're thinking, you've got to be aware. At least, I get that obviously you've got to take a lot of things into account. He was in the Chelsea academy, he's a Chelsea fan. I do get that, but I do find it slightly strange that he isn't fully aware of how that would come across to West Ham. And I actually think that should he move, I don't think he'll disrespect the club at all. So that's why it seems like a little bit of a sort of strange decision to have all of these pictures. And you're probably the same as me. Every time you see one, just, oh God, no, because it's like almost you think, oh, is it going to happen? And I've got Chelsea mates going that it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. I'm like, well, there's a lot to account for before we start getting to that. To be honest, Chelsea haven't even made a bid at this point. Now they're going to spend probably 80, 90 mil on Havertz. So I'm not sure where Chelsea are going to get this money from. If they're going to get Declan's price tag, which for me is 80 plus. I can't see us selling. If we sell for any less than that in this market, I think those owners are crazy. And, I'm not seeing enough from them in the transfer market or Moyes to suggest that we are going to start signing players anytime soon. We've got Robinson out there. Now, albeit for Moyes, he might not have fancied him, but 2 million's a snip. You've got Championship players like Rico Henry at 10 million. It all adds up. But I just find it odd that West Ham don't have £20 million to spend, if you know what I mean. I just think that as a Premier League club, we know that there's a lot of money staying in the league, a lot of money for getting that 16th position. We should be trying to sign these players early as well. We leave it later and later. I'm telling you that the squad's going to be out of balance, and you just don't want something like this just dragging and dragging.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I can't be too positive. Like we are gonna work it out on time and things like that. I know we ain't. We always leave it last minute when it comes to transfer windows. We started the season well last season, and then as we started doing well, we let Hernandez go outside of the transfer window, and then we were short, and then we went on a terrible run. We need a squad, and it's another season where, we do get our hopes up, but I think this season everyone's like, we're just expecting the same sort of negative sort of approach, and it is really going to throw Moyes under the bus. Moyes deserves signings, he deserves a clean slate. But it gets to the point we just want to see sort of signings. We don't really care who they are. We just want to see bodies, new bodies, at the club. And I just don't know where they're going to come from. Um, you know, it is unacceptable that they just come out and say that we've got no money. I honestly think that, they can't rely on the fans to just continuously run their business. If they're West Ham fans themselves, put money into your pocket and show us how much the club means to you, and let's go up a level next season. But I think it's going to be the same scrimping and scraping again. And we are desperately short. I mean, you've touched on the good players like in the lower leagues that we could be signing. I reckon it will come to we get 2 loan deals and 2 free transfers from somewhere. But we do need a stronger squad, and that's all I can say really. We need new signings. The club really do need to put their money in dip into their pocket to get some money from somewhere, because it's hard, it's difficult with the season tickets again, relying on the fans for money. It's tough. But we're not the billionaires at the end of the day. We were promised a lot of things when we moved to the stadium, so the club has got a lot to answer for me.
Yeah, mate, it's a huge point. Like, not to make a joke out of it, but I was doing the worst Golden Sullivan 11 earlier, and ever since we've moved into the new stadium, the signings, the actual quality of the signings have gone down, and I think that's not what we were promised when we moved. When we moved, it was supposed to be next level, and I don't think any West Ham fan will sit there and expect. Obviously, we were going to go Champions League in the first transfer window we moved, but certainly a progression to have a strong squad, a good manager. And unfortunately, at the moment, we have neither. Now, David Moyes has earned, in my opinion, his right to have, to start next season. We'll see how it goes. But like you've said, if they sell players like Declan Rice potentially, and don't allow him to bring the players that he needs in, again, you're making it the impossible task for the manager. And, even with Pellegrini last season, they'd argue, well, we brought Allaire in for 45 and we brought Fornals for 25 or whatever it was. Good players, haven't quite reached that level this season. But what people forget is they sold Hernandez, they lost Perez, Carroll, Arnautovic, all in the same window. And so, all right, we signed 1 striker, but we lost about 4. And that's the problem with that West Ham squad. I don't believe they've got that money to make it well balanced and rounded everywhere. And that's why we always find ourselves having these gaps. Luckily in midfield, Souček coming in January, like we've needed a box-to-box midfielder for a while now. So he's filled that gap. We've still got problems up front, left back, right back. It's concerning, mate. The strategy is just not there. And if you want to move to that next level, there's so many clubs out there that are very strategic, have got good scouting departments, directors of football. And I'm surprised West Ham haven't looked at that.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I mean, there's been reports come out that West Ham's the 18th richest club in the world. So, stats like that, they have a lot to answer for. It does disappoint me how far off in terms of we are with other clubs, in terms of, other scouting networks and things like that. We've got awful training facilities as well.
Yeah.
We look at signing players, but what players actually want to come into this club and, train at these facilities every day and become part of this poison chalice? It's very difficult. You made a good point. I mean, talking about, you can say we spent money, with Haller and Fornals, but you're right, they did let like 3 or 4 strikers go, and things like that stick out for me. The fans got disrespected, I felt, when Sky came out and said all this on Sunday Supplement, and then the week later they all apologised. But it's like, you can't justify spending all that money and then on 1 striker and then letting 3 or 4 go, leaving us with 1. It's not acceptable. Like, we do get treated unfairly, in my opinion, as fans. We are going to be left short. It's nothing new. We are going to be scrimping and scraping, and that is a massive disappointment for me, because we just want to see this club build. Ever since that season at the Bowling, we were in a good place, and we could have just steadied that momentum onto the following season. But they just don't know how to take us forward. I don't think they want to take us forward. And that's my opinion. I'm not saying that's right, but that's what it feels like as a fan. And we are very, very far off. And we are going to be left short because there are teams in this league that do want to spend money. They do want to go to the next level, and they do want to keep trying. And spending money. If you've got money, you can do anything with it. You can buy better training facilities. You can buy better players, and you can keep going until you get it right. Even if you don't have a plan in place, we need new players because quite frankly, there are quite a few there that aren't good enough anymore. And yeah, that's it really for me. I mean, there are a lot of players there that need to go. There's still a little bit of deadwood, and when you want to improve a squad, you need to keep signing players to better what you've got already. Otherwise, people become comfortable, and that's like, Cresswell, he's become so comfortable with that left back spot over the years. He's got worse and worse. You need to keep bettering your squad so you've got competition for places. Everyone's hungry. People want to go out there and give their all. We don't have any of that. It is like a holiday camp. We are so laid back, and that's why I'm worried for us next season.
Yeah, mate. There's so many sort of flaws with it. I think another thing as well, we've got a few players in there that have got no resale value, and obviously that will be down to the strategy of the club. It's very much on a ad hoc basis. We need this, so we'll bring in a striker, or we need this, so we'll do that. There's no understanding of how the club can generate funds through sales. The best example of that is someone like Brentford, who seem to have a brilliant scouting network, and they get these players in on cheap, and then they're going to probably sell Ben Rama for 25, 30 million. And that's why they're able to reinvest, and that's why that club can sort of punch above its weight and potentially get promoted next season. And it's a shame because something that what they don't realise, and this is why I think the owners are more incompetent than they are tight, is that when they spent X amount of money a couple of seasons ago, it was 100 mil. There was no real understanding about the type. They just let that money go out, and there was no real, we could use it on this player or where we're going to go long term. We have people like Wilshere come in, 100k a week, unlikely to play. It's all, it's just too risky, and we're not a club, clearly not from them, that have got that type of money just to throw out there. And so we've just got to really sort out. I think it's like you say with the training ground and everything. It's an infrastructure problem. It's how the club is itself. And I don't know about you, but I feel like I've got to that point where, David Moyes, we've sort of settled for David Moyes because it's just chopping and changing. And it feels like under these owners, no one's ever going to succeed, really. We haven't seen it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, mate. I mean, for me, I would have stuck with Bilic. I don't feel like he was properly backed. In my opinion, I feel like he wasn't. Yeah, he just wasn't backed properly, in my opinion. And anyone under this ownership is sort of destined to fail. It's very tough to advance with these owners and go to that next level. With regards to you saying that it's an infrastructure problem, I do agree. But I also think the case if they don't want to spend money on improving things like that because they are a bit tight in terms of, we could have the best people. Husilos was someone that could build a squad and could sign and identify good players, but it's what they get with it, and it's the owners don't want to spend any money to build on that and advance and go to that next level and try other things and build players around players. It's he'll do, and they're limited to a budget. We haven't got owners like Aston Villa that are going to say, yeah, let's invest in this, let's invest in that, let's get this until we get it right. And you're right with Brentford as well. They do things well the right way, and they've got proper people running that club. And I wouldn't be surprised if they bounce back sort of next year and get promoted. With regards to signing players that are going to got a good resale value as well, I mean, I'm not saying we go out and get Ryan Fraser because we do have plenty of wingers, but on a free transfer, someone in his mid-20s, if you sign him, a couple of seasons he does well, he's got a great resale value, and for me, that's good business. I'm not saying we want to be a selling club, but looking at the players like Haller, Anderson, we can't sell them because they haven't got a good resale value for what we bought. We're not going to get our money back. We're going to lose money on them because they don't perform. And whoever identified them hasn't done the best job. That's another issue. We don't spend money in the right areas. So it's very difficult for us right now. It's going to be tough. I'm not sure what what we're going to get, but it's the same again every season, and we are getting to the stage now where we looking and start to the season and just think it's a bit like a Newcastle fan where you're not going to get, you're not going to get top 10, you're not going to get Europe. It's just huff and puff every week. Don't know what to expect, but you're going to be round the bottom every year. And that's what I think we've got now until these owners go. And that's my honest opinion on that.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, mate. That's the shame about it. It sort of every season normally you start with that level of excitement and getting excited about transfers and obviously growing up with West Ham, transfer deadline day and all this kind of stuff. But as you get older and over the years, it's sort of you just know that nothing major's coming in, and then it's that constant, like we touched on earlier, leave it to the last minute. And I think this has been said. I think it's been sort of widely known that the board use agents to buy certain players. I think it's something like there's a few players in our squad now, Fredericks and a couple of others that have the same agent. And it's such an archaic way of running a football club that it may have worked for Birmingham in the 90s and going into the early 2000s, but they haven't kept up with the times. They don't understand modern football, which is why I'm so pro director of football, scouting network, a proper infrastructure, a culture about how we want to play, obviously from the youth team up. And unfortunately, it just seems like occasionally we strike lucky. Declan Rice comes through or Ben Johnson comes through, and that's kind of where most of the excitement's coming from now. Dean Garner to come back next season. We've got some good young English players that should impress really, but I just wonder how long it's going to take next season before the wheels fall off. Maybe we have a good start and then we get to November and then we're sort of down the bottom again. If we just constantly chop and change and Moyes goes and somebody else comes in, we're going to just constantly be in this cycle. And it is a bit depressing, I've got to be honest, but unfortunately that is what it is.
It is, mate. I mean, what you touched on there is absolutely right. I don't think any player in our squad, apart from Declan Rice, has got a positive resale value that we could actually get our money back on or more. And that goes to show everyone we signed over the years, we can't sell for more than what we got them for now. And that says a lot to me. But the only one that would sell for a huge profit is Declan Rice. And that's not even down to them. That's down to he's been homegrown. He came to us when he was 14 and he's come through the Academy of Football. But everyone else that they've signed, we can't sell on now because they're not good enough. And that's the fact, and they don't work hard enough for it. And that's a shame. And that goes to show with these owners, they don't identify the right people. You could argue, obviously, Souček and Bowen, you could obviously get a good fee on because they both come in and they've impressed. And the one thing we can't let to happen is them to start getting comfortable when everything, when places don't get sort of competitive and they start getting comfortable and they starting to look average in the squad. We can't let that happen. We've got to keep people hungry. We need some momentum at the club. We need some excitement. And this is probably the most dull, one of the most dull I've been looking into a season. I'm not that excited for it as we're going. And even if we were signing players, I wouldn't be that excited because we don't identify and sign the right people. And that's just fact at the end of the day. They sign more bad players than good. Hence, talking about your video earlier that you've done about the worst XI, Brady, Golden, Sullivan XI, it's just like we aren't cut out to sign good players, and with the fact that we've got no money, I think we will be in a relegation battle next season as it stands. And I can't, to be honest, looking at it, I don't know if I can see Rice staying. If I'm honest, I'm 50-50 on it. But why would he stay when there is no advancements at this club? We've got nothing to keep him here, to be honest. And I'm not saying I respect that what he's been doing is getting loads of photos lately with Chelsea players and whatever, ex-Chelsea or whatever. I feel like that is disrespectful. West Ham and Chelsea is a big rivalry. You know, you wouldn't see someone like Aguero go and get several different photos with Man United legends in 1 week. It is disrespectful, and I'm not, as a fan, I'm not happy to see it, to be honest. So yeah, it's a tough one, but we are in a bad position as it stands, in my opinion.
Yeah. The Rice one will drag. It will drag for, I imagine, most of the window. Like you say, it's such a shame because I think the club's stance on it is, people have said, making club captain or making first team captain, give him a pay rise, try and incentivise him to stay, even if you can't necessarily bring anybody in to support him. And the club have just stayed firm and said no one's getting a new contract till December. And it's stuff like that. There's like a level of ignorance behind it where there is no. This is why they're incompetent, because they don't understand modern day football. They don't understand someone like Declan, who's an England international. He played every single game last season. He's got a chance of going to Chelsea, albeit we don't like them, but they've got Champions League football where he's going to probably play again every other week. And they're still unwilling to move and secure him. And that's what I mean. We've seen this in the past before, when Payet was our best player and, he wanted to go. And at the time, he was one of the best players in Europe, genuinely. And I thought you should have, 25 million for that. Albeit it kicked up a fuss, but certainly could have done a little bit better. And they just don't get it. Like their mettle in these situations where we've got these assets is worrying. So, yeah, I wonder whether Declan will look at it and sort of see the lack of activity and go near the end of the window and say, probably just chance my arm at Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, if he's with us at the moment on sort of 30-40 grand a week, it's probably fact. If he goes to Chelsea, he gets triple that and he's on about 120 a week, which would obviously be hard to turn down. So, being ignorant and not offering someone like Declan Rice a new contract when he does need one. He is our best player, but like by far, he does need to be probably one of our top earners, and it is ignorant. Otherwise, we are going to be a selling club again. While this pandemic has been going on, we are heading that way to be a selling club and letting our best players go, and it's something that us fans, it's hard for us to swallow. We've been through an awful lot in terms of bad results and bad seasons and just a stadium move that none of us wanted. And, to see one of our superstars go, it is tough. It would be tough. And I'm really hoping he will stay and something gets, it would be massively disappointing if he went to Chelsea, albeit the club that happily threw him out the door when he was a kid. And, for me, why would you want to, I know he's a Chelsea fan, but why would you just want to go back somewhere less than 10 years later that did just palm me on the streets when it wasn't going well and things like that. But yeah, it would be tough to see Declan go, but I'm hoping we can keep him. He is a West Ham player as it stands. He has just got to stop. It's like he's putting all these Chelsea teasers up, like little teasers up that he's obviously a Chelsea boy, and it's just like, come on, mate, we'll get it. Like, just stop it. Like, if he does it again, obviously, I think the fans should start kicking up a fuss about it because it is a bit disrespectful, in my opinion. Like, get a couple of photos of some West Ham legends for once. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a bit much for me. And that's just me as a passionate fan. I don't like to see it, to be honest. But I do think the board should be offering the likes of Declan Rice and Antonio, I would say, a new contract because they have worked hard for it. They do deserve it, and we want to keep our best performers happy and also sort of like incentivised as well.
Yeah, completely. And as well with this sort of window, we've got a few players gone out. Obviously, Jetty's left today to go Celtic. Carlos Sanchez has been released. The wages are freeing up, and this is what I never get. I think you said earlier, I think it's right. I think we will go for free transfers. I think we're linked with Jeff Hendricks from Burnley's one. Somebody else can't quite remember, but Ryan Fraser again potentially. So yeah, listen. We're not going to go and get the players we want like the Watkinses and all those types, but it does make it just worries me because people are going, well, what do we want Ryan Fraser for? I'm like, yeah, but think about it. Carlos Sanchez was on 80k a week, didn't play. Even if Ryan Fraser doubles his money from 25 to 50, he's going to be a much better player for West Ham. Do you know what I mean? We have to see some kind of intent, and it never bodes well not getting the players in early doors. We know that Moyes likes to drill his system. He sticks to it quite rigidly when he plays. Players come in and they can't adapt to that quickly. We're waiting more and more. Do you know what I mean? I'm just concerned more so with some of the players we've got. Lanzini and Anderson obviously didn't perform well last season. They're obviously on a big wage. I don't know whether we can afford to keep them on the bench because at the moment I can't see either of them impressing next season.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Lanzini does he needs a goal to get his confidence up, and we need to see if that player in him is still there, because we haven't seen that player for a long time that we know he was. I think the injuries definitely affected his game, and that is a shame to see. But Anderson, he is a very relaxed person, a character that is very calm, but when you play for a club like West Ham, you do need to pull your weight. You do need to work hard. I feel like Moyes should give him an actual go in like a free role, number 10 role, where he sits behind a striker instead of sort of playing on the left with Cresswell, which is quite a lightweight sort of side of the pitch. But it is true, like they were, especially Anderson, brought in on big money, getting paid a lot, and he's not doing much, and he's obviously not showing it. So it is hard when you've got players like that because we know for a fact Ryan Fraser would come in and on something like 50k he'd do probably a better job at this time. So it is tough as a fan when you've got players like that don't work as hard and aren't showing it. As I said, we do have a lot of wingers, but Grady Dean Garner will feel like a new signing. Hopefully he sticks around. And also I feel like, personally, I'd look to pass on a couple of players like sort of Snodgrass, and I think Snodgrass is a little bit getting on the old side. I think he's a little bit slow. So I'd look to pass him on. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I think Lanzini and Anderson. I feel like Lanzini we should give a pre-season, if not maybe loan him out and to someone and see how he gets on. Maybe a loan move is what he needs to sort of find himself again as a player, because he is a good player. That before his injury he was linked with Liverpool quite heavily and things like that. So it is a shame. He isn't the best player in the world. I'm not saying that, but he's a very good footballer, and I feel like when he's on form, we're all behind him. We're all we're all his biggest fan. But ever since he's hit a bad run of form since his injury, a lot of people have been getting on his back, and I feel like he needs a goal. He needs a little bit of momentum to build and to get his confidence back as a player. And it's tough to see because he's been at West Ham quite a long time now. So I would give maybe him another chance. But Anderson, I do feel like he needs to put his weight more for the money he's on and for what we bought him in for. And if not, he does need to go because we've given him sort of 2 seasons now, and he was all right in the first one. The second one, wasn't good enough.
Yeah, Anderson's such a strange one, isn't he? Because he kind of, I wouldn't say divides opinion. I think everyone's sort of in unity when we feel like he's not pulling his weight, and I'm one of them people. I think one of the arguments is that he's doing a lot of defensive work for Creswell, which I do get as well. And he did put a shift in early doors this season to kind of protect that position. It's difficult with him because I think you have to. The Moyes system's so structured, like it has to be organised. It has to be like this. There's not players aren't really given a free roam. And what we've seen near the end of the season is Mark Noble being given that number 10. So there is space for that type of player, but it's a question of whether he wants to give Anderson that responsibility. I think he tried him in that position against Wolves and against Tottenham, but we didn't see him since because he just wasn't able to. He wasn't able to do the defensive work that he needs to do. And I think from a Moyes number 10, you've got to be willing to press. I think that's key. Obviously, Noble does do that. He's not the quickest, but he will put pressure on that back four. So yeah, it's a weird one, mate, because number 10, there's an argument for a lot of them. Anderson, Lanzini, Fornals. You've got a lot of options there with a lot of talented players. I just feel that someone like Fornals will get the nod because his work rate is really good for a playmaker, and I don't think that helps him either, mate. To be honest, I think he's played him, but he's played him sometimes off the left, and he's not given that natural free roam that he needs to pick that pass. So it's an odd one, mate. We've got a lot of talented players out there that would be good in certain systems. Now, obviously, it's flipped. We've got Moyes in. I don't know how they're going to perform next season.
Yeah, I mean, I look at a team like sort of like Burnley and at a push maybe even Brighton, who are teams that they won't spend as much money as we do normally, but they've got a team of a lot of British players. You know, they're not the best players in the world, but British players give you that discipline. And when you've got South American players like Lanzini and Anderson, they are very casual. They aren't that disciplined. They obviously don't listen to instructions and things like that. But when you've got a team like Burnley and even Brighton, they're a lot more organised. Everyone knows their job. Everyone knows what to do. The team is structured, and that is the thing. We've got a lot of foreign players. I feel like signals and things like that. Things get mixed up, and I feel like not everyone knows their job, and that's what can happen with players like Lanzini and Anderson. They stroll around and they become quite casual to what they're doing and things like that. If you look at teams like, as I said, Burnley and Brighton's of today, that they're very disciplined and organised, and they know what they're doing, and they're a no nonsense team, and that's why teams like that, they often get a good result against us because they're a lot more disciplined and they know what they're doing. So that's one thing that really gripes me, is that we often get a bad result against teams like that because they're a lot more organised and structured than us. I'm not saying they've got a better team than us or they've got better players, because we've got some good players. It's just they don't know how to click and work together, and that's what I mean. Is the route going down the Championship route of getting young, hungry English players from the Championship, like your Bowens and things like that, and Antonio came from the Championship, Cresswell as well. Obviously, he started well, but he's dipped off now over the years. But I do feel like our days of signing foreign players from South America are becoming a bit numbered, because we've done it a few times, and they do have a tendency of becoming quite relaxed and strolling around and not knowing their job on the pitch and things like that. So, hopefully, if we are going to get some free transfers and things like that, hopefully they are, English, hungry, they want it, and they're going to impress, because we can't rely on Anderson. I feel like if Anderson is to stay, it would 100% be his final shot, because his stats last season weren't good enough for me.
Yeah, no, listen, mate, if you bring a player in for that wage and that transfer fee, you should be doing a lot more. And, it's a tough one. I mean, you got all these players, and obviously brought Allaire in and Fornals, but there's no, I think even under Pellegrini, he had, even Yarmolenko there. It just seemed like all different types of players that didn't really gel together. At least with a Burnley, like you're saying, They all understand their roles, they understand their responsibilities. You know, you've got Chris Wood and Rodriguez up front knocking it down. They understand that, and they can, by that means they can bring someone in, slot in, and they don't lose that continuity. And the problem is with West Ham, if we get a few injuries next season and Lanzini or Anderson have to fill in, we're going to lose elements of the team that help us to win games. You know, another example is Antonio. I don't think Antonio's technically the best player, but in that Moyes system, he does a job. He chases. He helps out our midfielders by holding the ball. He offers a lot. But Haller, albeit a talented player, doesn't offer that same work rate, and that's why we dip the minute he comes on. And I just don't think we can rely on passengers. We need to have, we need to look past sort of big names and try and get players that just fit for now. It's a shame, mate, because I think when players like that did come in, Haller and Anderson, we were all really excited. Obviously, they've got a big reputation. We thought we were going to see attacking football. But I think we've all got to that stage now where it's like we just want a season of a team that works together, works hard, and we can just stabilise for a bit.
Yeah, mate, 100%. I mean, I was thinking then, like, with you, what you're saying with regards to, like, it gelling together and everyone sort of, like, fitting together and knowing their job and things like that. It's like, you know, with Haller, it's like, he needs, it's either, he needs other people around him, he needs the support, he needs this, he needs that. And, you know, it's the same with Hernandez when he was here. It's like he needs someone up there with him, or he needs more players around him, or he needs it. But again, I'm touching on, if you have hungry English players like 15 years ago when we had Zamora and Harewood up front, and, you know, you got Everington on the left. None of us were ever saying, oh, they need to do this, then it was like, they all knew their jobs, and none of us could complain about our strikers back then because they all knew what they were doing. They all wanted to score goals. They all chased every ball. And it's like now we've got Haller, who's he's got an ego. He's a bit slow and things like that. And it's hard with these foreign players because you don't know what you're going to get with them. Whereas homegrown English players that know what West Ham means, they are going to work hard for it and things like that. So it is tough with the amount of foreign players we have got. I know Fornals works hard and that's good to see. But I feel like, again, he is playing on the left, which isn't always his position. And I feel like he could get found out there sooner or later, to be honest with you. So, yeah, it's tough. If Haller's going to be here next season, I want to see a lot more from him as well, because I feel like he didn't set the world alight for me. Season just gone.
Yeah, and also what you said about the work rate, 10, 15 years ago, when West Ham were putting a few of the old games up, I think it was West Ham Tottenham, the lasagna game, and I was watching it, and you just forget, don't you? But all the players were chasing, all the players were working hard, and it's like, I remember saying to someone, I said, I can't believe we used to play like this. I said, because I never remember us being like, oh, we didn't put a shift in, but we weren't the most talented squad. We had a few good players in there, like Yossi Benayoun with a bit of creativity, and obviously Harewood and Zamora. But we knew our roles, we worked hard, and that's why we got the results. And I don't know whether it's a modern day thing, whether clubs are sort of losing that element of it, or it's a Premier League thing. But I just think West Ham need to get that back, because I think at the bare minimum, the fans just ask for a bit of work rate, and a bit of heart. And if the quality's not there, it's not there. You can't force it. But I think the problem is, obviously, at the moment, it's toxic atmosphere. The owners have made it a lot worse. We've lost our identity a little bit with the stadium. We want a bit of West Ham back, and so we need to try and get it at least through the sort of players. Do you know what I mean? That's why people look so fondly on players like Mark Noble, because albeit he's not the same player, he still represents West Ham. He still represents what we're supposed to be. And it's frustrating that, like, bit by bit, it feels like we're losing, like, parts of our identity.
Yeah, mate. I mean, I totally agree. There's not much to cling on to these days, and that, as a fan, that is really, really tough. I'm never going to stop supporting West Ham because it's what I do, but it's very tough to sort of cling on to hope, and these days, look forward and things like that. It's very hard, but I love Mark Noble. I want to see Mark Noble at West Ham for sort of forever, but obviously he's losing his legs a little bit. He may be slowing down, but towards the end of the season in that number 10 role, he's doing a job. He worked hard and we got results, so credit to him. But it could be something like him coming up and saying next season is my final season. That could give the club a bit of a lift, and everyone think, oh well, it could be like the final bowling season. It's not that, but it's final Mark Noble season. Do you know what I mean? So everyone's going to pull together and give him a good send off, something like that. But I'm not saying I want that, because the club should work hard off their own back. The players need to work hard off their own back. A lot of us would kill to wear that shirt and play on that pitch. Do you know what I mean? But there isn't much to cling on to these days. And, coming out and saying that we've got no money and things like that, it's tough pill to swallow, because, we moved to a stadium none of us really wanted to move to. And for me, it's a really tough pill to swallow. That we've got no money to spend and things like that. It's very tough.
Yeah, it is at the moment, mate. I remember I shouldn't laugh, but I remember the first time I saw the stadium on the TV, and I was gobsmacked, because it gave it all of the videos, and it'll be this, and you won't be far from it, and all that kind of stuff. And you see it, and you just go, that can't be it. Do you know what I mean? You go up there, the atmosphere's been drained out. You're thinking, really, is this what it is? And then they go, oh no, sorry, we ain't got any money. I just never buy it, mate. All the revenue you get, all the sponsorship, they pay £2 million rent a year for a stadium. I don't buy they ain't got no money, because they say that they haven't personally got money, but the club makes money. You know what I mean? Sullivan's a billionaire. It's just it's testing, and even if you looked at it on a lower level, I had an interview with Hammers United the other day, and they were saying, okay, all right, it's going to take a while to influence long-term change, but we just want a little bit of, a recognition of what the fans want, not just some sort of flags around the ground when it starts and all that kind of thing. But they're saying the same thing. It's just difficult. They're not willing to meet on the little things, and even some of the big things like transfers. If they come out and were transparent about it and went, this is why we're skint, you'd have a little bit more time for it. But it's always cloak and dagger. There's no honesty there. And so when you've got a fan base that feels like they're being fobbed off all the time, it's difficult to get behind the club.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm one of them. I absolutely sort of despise them now, that I can't get behind anything they do. It's like with all this, like, I don't even believe in, like, with them owners. I don't even feel like, oh, credit where credit's due. Like with the furloughing the staff and all that, when they were going to pay all the staff, and everyone was, oh, credit where credit's due. For me, that's like saying, if someone murders someone and they're a bad person, but they're nice to someone the next day, you wouldn't say, oh, credit where credit's due, because they've done the damage. They killed someone. They're a bad person. Yeah. These people are very bad people in terms of they've what they've done. Everyone watching this video or listening will know what they've done. That they have absolutely, and I mean it from the heart, they have absolutely ripped the heart and soul out of the club by moving the stadium that no one wanted to move to. We've got a lot of old school supporters, my dad being one of them, that don't want to go and watch anymore, because the stadium is an absolute shit show. Excuse my French. It is bad over there. I can't describe how bad it is. What we've become. I don't remember any of us actually agreeing to the new badge that we've got, and things like that. It's just they're running the club how they want to run it, and how Karen Brady and her little consortium think it's right. And that, for me, that doesn't sit well at all with me. We are treated like animals. We are treated like customers that always need to get their wallet out themselves, and it doesn't bode well with me. And as soon as these lot go, it will be a good day for me. And a lot of us as fans, because they aren't good people for this club. We get a lot of backlash as fans from stuff that they do and things like that. And I I've really washed my hands of giving them any sort of support anymore. I support West Ham United. I don't support West Ham London. And what we've become and what we are. And that's why a lot of fans are dipping off and calling it a day over there, because it isn't run a proper football club anymore. We are so far off. And there's so many things that they could have done, that they could have at least tried to do, but they've done it all the wrong way.
Yeah, it's the little things, isn't it? As well, like you mentioned the badge. Hammers United come out and said, the club comes like, well, we've consulted with certain people, and it's obviously they've got their OSB that they put together with the people that they wanted on there to kind of sort of fill that role and say, there is fan consultation, but blatantly that isn't the case. And whilst there are people that don't see the merit in the badge, there's a lot of heritage behind it. And I just thought, for 125 years as a club, it's a massive milestone. To come out and put London on the bottom when that hasn't been on the badge, for 121 years of it, is a bit of a joke. And I just thought, and it cheapens it. And a lot of what they do cheapens the club. I just think the sort of flags around the side when the game starts, it's a cheap gesture. You've got to show a little bit more than just that. And it's difficult. Sometimes I try and stay away from talking about the board because we know how bad they are. But when you look at it and you evaluate it again and again, it just gets progressively worse. And unfortunately, mate, I think they're riding on this pandemic a little bit. You haven't got the protests that are building momentum. That's helping them out. It means that they've got breathing space to not spend the money that they weren't going to spend anyway. They're sort of dictating it a little bit in their favour. And listen, I just think we want small changes at least to show there's some sort of voice of the fans. And West Ham's a massive club, so not have anything that represents us really. And that stadium move was it's just terrible. Like even this summer they were talking about changing the stands and bringing them closer. You just think like it's so long overdue. You know what I mean? It's only they move when there's so much pressure on it and they've got to do something.
Yeah, I mean, too late. Like, it's too little, too late, mate. Like, they can't fix anything now. Like, what happened to extending the stadium, getting 66,000 as well? Like, that's gone all quiet. The retractable seating don't work. They promised us a product that isn't working and hasn't worked, and it's not worked out, and it's not right, and it's morally wrong. And Karen Brady will be seen as inspirational woman of the year and businesswoman of the year and all this, and they're bad people, mate. They're bad eggs. They're not good people, and West Ham's a club that means a lot to a lot of people, and if they loved it that much, they would have always been there. They haven't always been there. We've always been there. They own Birmingham. They relegated us with Birmingham once. And it's like we've always been here, and to come and take us to a new stadium is very it's disrespectful, and it's hard to take. And where we are now, it's not the West Ham I know. It's not the West Ham that I want us to be. And as a fan, it is a very bleak time as a West Ham fan, and a very bleak future ahead as well. But yeah, I feel like they got off lightly as well with what they got off very lightly. Actually, it was all bubbling up to get nasty again over there, and then all of a sudden the pandemic and lockdown came, and they swerved it and got very, very lucky. I'm telling you now, if we get back in that stadium next season at some point, and results aren't good and things get bad, it will get nasty over there. And believe me, I'll be part of that because I absolutely despise them.
Yeah, I think it will, mate. I think he's it is getting to that level. We saw obviously with the Burnley game. Some people on the outside were shocked, but I was very much like, well, this is what happens when you treat the fans this way. You give false promises, etc. You can't expect. And they sort of played the victim on that. Oh, why are they reacting like this? We've spent all this money. We saw exactly the same with Sky, the Sunday supplement, when they come out and had to apologise, and which I thought was just completely wrong. Journalists not being able to have freedom of speech. having to go and say that, they have spent X amount of money, as if that equates to them caring about the club. But yeah, mate, so it's a rotten situation. I think hopefully sooner rather than later, I don't think their position at the club is tenable much longer. You've got 2-3 years, maybe they'll look to get out. I know there's some sort of deal with a LLDC that if they sell the club, they've got to give a percentage. So if they can get past that point and then maybe sell it, but again, it's kind of just leave it up to their valuation. They could sort of outvalue the club to make it impossible to buy. So we won't know, mate. Really, I just think next season I would just like us to stabilise a little bit, a bit of comfort. But I've got to admit, it's a shame that we're at that point. It really is.
Yeah, yeah, it's a massive shame. I can't see it sort of moving on and advancing. It's hard to see when they'll go, to be honest. David Gold is like nearly 90 years old. Like, he's getting an old man. He doesn't look too well. It's just like, come on, like, you shouldn't be putting your face at the front of a football club like this anymore, because caused it enough pain and embarrassment. It's like, get out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you well enough and fit enough to run this club? I don't think so. And I know he's got shares and investments in it, and regardless what happens to him, they'll get passed down to his family or whatever. They're not welcome anymore. They're not, they're not West Ham people. They're not welcome to be at the club anymore. They caused enough damage. There's no sympathy for them. There's nothing like that. Their wallets have got bigger, fact, from this move. It's very suspicious what went on with regards to selling Upton Park as well. So many countless things like that these people have done, and to leave us now coming out of a pandemic and saying there's no money, when we move to a stadium that's going to generate us more money and become a brand. The thing is, as well, what I've been thinking about lately is we still can't find a sponsor for that stadium at all. Like, no one wants to sponsor it. But hang on, I'm thinking to myself, do they want someone to sponsor it? Because sneakily, that stadium is now known as the London Stadium, which obviously is a massive marketing campaign to think a Chinese person comes over to London and thinks, oh, where shall I watch football this weekend? Stamford Bridge, Emirates, the London Stadium. That sounds proper like a tourist attraction. I'm going to go there. So I do feel like they are not clever, just sneaky and cheeky, and they don't do things the right way. It's all cheap and tacky sort of advertising, marketing, whatever you want to call it. They aren't the right people to run this club. They don't run it properly. Like, David Sullivan's been in football since the 80s, 90s, whatever. What has he won? Nothing. What has he achieved? Nothing. He's achieved a few promotions and got relegated about 10 million times. He's done nothing in the game that shows he can take a club forward and make things happen and excite fans. He's a fraudulent character. And Gold and Brady as well, I can't stand. So, yeah, we are in a bleak situation. I don't expect the FA Cup this season, the way it stands. So I'm not very optimistic, if I'm honest.
Never mind, mate. Maybe we'll have one good season, hopefully soon. But yeah, do you know what? Like, it's people might think it's negative, but you just gotta mull it over, and it is the truth, mate. And it's sort of like that underlying feeling at the club at the moment. That's something we go through as fans, and yes, the sooner they're out, the better. I'm very much on that sort of bandwagon, because it's getting ridiculous now. It's really a shame, and a lot of people sort of say the same thing. The West Ham I supported when I first started supporting them aren't the same club anymore, and it's the worst thing to see. You know what I mean? It's yes, it's just nasty and horrible. But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there, mate, on a positive note. But yeah, thanks for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it.
Nice one, mate. No worries at all. Absolutely pleasure for me as well.
Brilliant. Sweet. All right, you lot. Until next time, take care. Hold on, mate. Hang on. Just got to make sure this properly downloads.
Is that like a podcast then, or video, or?
It's a video, mate. Yeah.
Oh no, so this going on YouTube.
Of course. Uh,
Sweet. Oh yeah, I'll share it in that. Yeah, no,
hang on. Just want to check something out.
no worries, mate.